Really, this is going to be long as I feel background information is relevant to the best course of action moving forward. Married for 8 years, dated for 3 before that. One child, 5-year-old daughter. I met my wife in 2003. I was in the military and was the best man at my buddy's wedding in a very rural northwestern state. We were really close, but he had gotten out to move back home and get married. My wife was in the wedding. I am very into fitness, and I'm usually attracted to petite runner-type girls, but there was something about Jay. She was more of the curvy type, about 5 feet 2 inches and 145 pounds. What attracted me to her, besides her amazing looks, was the warmth of her personality. When she would talk to me, it made me feel like the only person on earth. She had just finished her master's degree and was still working as an elementary school teacher. We didn't do anything, but I got her number and we were in constant contact from then on. After 1 year of a long-distance relationship, we became exclusive, and during the second year, we discussed her moving to be with me. She was hesitant to move due to my military career, even though my job was very specialized, think spacecraft, and the chances of me being deployed or transferred were slim. There weren't many places in the world where my skills were useful. Long story short, I started talking to some of the contractors we worked with, letting them know I was considering not re-enlisting. When my time was up, I already had an offer to do something similar to my military job, but with better pay, benefits, and retirement. Jay was super excited. She started looking into teaching jobs in the local district, and she got a job immediately. That summer, I drove 30 hours southeast to be with her. I already owned my own modest home, and she moved in and added her touch to it. Things were perfect. We were dual income, no kids, and we went on lots of trips. Our bedroom was amazing, and I couldn't ask for anything better. Once she moved in with me, she started shedding her curvy physique, mostly because she started participating in my very active lifestyle and diet. Within a year, she was around 120 pounds and absolutely stunning. I loved her old body as well, and I put no pressure on her to change anything, but now she had a body type more similar to mine. Since I wasn't planning on moving anytime soon, I used my savings from the military to acquire 2 more rental houses. In 2006, we got married. In 2009, our daughter D5 was born. In 2012, we bought our dream house, which was a short sale. I spent 6 months renovating it after work every day. In 2013, we moved in and rented out our old house. Now we have 3 rental properties. Life is awesome. And I don't know what else I could possibly do as a husband. I really enjoy family life and find it much more satisfying than my single days. That brings me to the present and why I'm here. Usually, every summer, I would take whatever time off I could and drive to her home state for vacation. She's off for the summer, and I am much closer to her parents than my own. Her dad and I would go camping, fishing, and trail riding. There's no place I would rather be. It's beautiful up there. This summer, we were super busy, and I wasn't going to get my usual vacation. We compromised, and the first weekend after school was out, I flew her and our daughter, D5. I flew up with D5 and stayed for a couple of days. Then I flew back down solo to work. The separation was okay at first. We had done long distance before. I still talked to D5 every day on Skype at bedtime. But the longer she was up there, the shorter our conversations became, and the more excuses she had for not answering the phone. I thought it was just the stress of parenting alone, and the lack of things to talk about since we were apart. So after almost 5 weeks, I flew back up. Her dad picked me up, and we made the long drive to her hometown. She seemed really excited to see me, but something felt off. We had a big party with all of our cousins, aunts, and uncles. We played poker and had a few beers. Jay went to bed early, and I followed shortly after. That night, for maybe the second time in our marriage, I was turned down for bedroom time. Her excuse was that she didn't feel comfortable in her parents' house. We stayed in the guest room in the basement, which was 2 stories, 4 doors, and 25 yards away from where everyone else was hanging out. Not to mention, we had been intimate there every other day during our previous summer vacations. But during this visit, there was no physical intimacy. When we got home, we had some lukewarm, unenthusiastic bedroom time because there were no more excuses. A week after being home, my gut was screaming at me, so I started digging. She had received a new iPad for her birthday and was on it every night, sitting in the corner of the living room where I couldn't see what she was doing. Usually we would be snuggled up on the couch together, watching TV, or just talking and enjoying each other's company. By luck, I had adopted her old iPad. Last week on Thursday, I clicked on the Facebook app and saw that she was still logged in. I saw messages from an old boyfriend that had started 2 weeks before I flew back up there. It turns out they ran into each other while she was out catching up with her girlfriends in their small town. The messages started out innocently, with him saying how good it was to see her after all these years. Then he started complimenting her and reminiscing about their past. It eventually led to full-on dirty chats every night. The night I found out, I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them to my work email. I have barely been able to maintain my composure. Inside, I am a wreck. I think she can tell that something is off. Since Monday, she has been deleting her chats every night. But now, my new nightly routine is to wait until she starts chatting on the iPad after dinner and putting D5 to bed. Then I take my iPad into my office man cave or workout room. I start lifting weights and listening to music. Between sets, I choose a new song and take screenshots. When I've had enough, I email them to my work and go to bed. In these chats, she talks about what she wants to do with him when she goes back up there. She also talks about what they used to do. And for some reason, she bashes on me, even though I have done nothing to deserve it. After reading the chats, it's clear that they haven't been physically intimate yet. But to me, it doesn't matter. This is a betrayal like I've never felt before, and it's a deal breaker. The worst part is that this guy is a piece of crap. He drives a snowplow in the winter and does road construction in the summer. He's married to a big old farm girl and has a 2-year-old who looks like Joe Dirt. I'm sure he was a football stud in high school, but now he's just a big out-of-shape dude. And I'm not tiny either. I am not tiny at 5'8", but I wear size 34 jeans and run 5 miles every day. I also lift every night, and have been doing more this week. That's about all I can stomach to write at this point. It feels awesome to get it off my chest, as I haven't told a soul since D-Day. I have a plan for a confrontation that I will post when I can. In the meantime, I'm keeping my eyes and ears open, my mouth shut, and acting like everything is alright. However, I'm dying inside. She has had some sort of weird dynamic with this guy. From what I gathered before all this, he used her and then dumped her in high school. I think him falling all over himself for her has been sort of super ego boost. I am not perfect either. Most of the time, I am the fun parent, and she ends up being the bad guy with our child, D5. I often get preoccupied with taking care of our rentals or working a lot of overtime, which means I am not always there. When I am stressed, I can get ornery and prefer to go to my room to work out and be left alone. But within an hour, I am back to normal again. I am also fairly organized and do not like it when the house is not a certain way. However, I try not to show that I am upset and usually fix whatever is bothering me myself. I'm not trying to dispel any fog. I am just so mad right now, and I am thinking about a favorable outcome before she figures out what is going on. Comments. The situation is very similar to what happened to me. Luckily, I caught it early. I told her that she could date whoever she wanted, and we had been together since college. She got a funny look on her face and said she still wanted to see me too. I laughed and told her that was not going to happen. Suddenly, the guy she was interested in did not seem so appealing, and that was the end of him. I believe you have enough evidence to confront her now, and knowing that it was not physical, you should hit her over the head with it and see how she feels about being sent home to her mom and her boyfriend. You will know soon enough if this is just some idiotic fantasy or not. I highly recommend reading the books listed below, which are also available for immediate download on Amazon. Do not let her take the kids out of state. The good thing is that you caught this early. Now what you do from here on out is crucial. You must confront this issue head-on and spare no remorse. If you share joint finances, clean out that account and expose the affair with the proof you have. Do not let her gaslight you or guilt you. Remember, it was her choice to be unfaithful, and she will try to make you believe it was your fault. Only by taking a firm stance and calling the shots on your terms can you decide if you want to get rid of her for good or possibly give reconciliation a chance. However, I do know one thing. If you ignore this and sweep it under the rug, it will only get worse. In response to OP, maybe this is some fantasy of hers to string along the guy who dumped and hurt her. I am very close to her dad and was thinking about casually asking him about this guy to try and get some background information. However, I will not confront her until I have spoken to a lawyer and protected my finances. My plan for today, while work is slow, is to make an appointment with a good lawyer. Last night I was in a state of anger and ready for a divorce. Today, who knows how I will feel. I had a brief conversation with an attorney, and he seems competent. He only handles family law cases on behalf of men. I keep a spreadsheet at work with all of my assets, liabilities, a calendar of when bills are due, balances on all accounts, paydays for both of us, and when I receive rent from each house. Essentially, my entire financial life is organized into 3 tabs on Excel. I sent the spreadsheet in, and he set up a meeting for next Wednesday to sit down in person and give me best case, worst case scenario, and give me a rundown on how things work in this state. I will not confront before this meeting. I don't want to threaten divorce, have her say, okay, sure, and then end up with a race to the bank in the morning. I'm not rich by any means, but I've built a pretty nice life for a guy with a high school education. I'm not ready to lose any more than I have to. If R does happen, I still think it's a good idea to start to isolate myself financially, just in case. Until Wednesday, I'm not ready to lose any more than I have to. If R does happen, I still think it's a good idea to start to isolate myself financially, just in case. Until Wednesday, I'm going to keep my happy face on and try to keep an eye on Facebook without torturing myself too much. 1 week later, I can't handle the pain anymore. I printed out all the dirty chats they had and shoved it at her on the dinner table. She was shocked, confused, and broken down and started crying. She said she just wanted something special outside of our normal marriage. I can't believe the words out of her mouth. She was begging and grabbing me to stay. I looked her in the eyes. I saw flashbacks of our marriage and my kids, but I can't trust her anymore. My belief system is completely broken. I packed all her things the next day and told her I'll call someone to pick her and her belongings and send her to my mother-in-law. That I'm gonna need some alone time to figure out what the next move is in my life. But that seemed like the final chapter of my marriage. Story 2. I have been with my husband for 16 years and married for 10. We have been together since I was 19 and he was 24. We have no children. We dated for a long time before getting married, and that seemed wise. I thought we were doing well. We never fight, agree easily on most things, have no money problems, share hobbies and interests, and so forth. He has done a lot for me, and I am a pleaser type of person. I prided myself on being the perfect wife. However, I completely trusted him and never thought anything was wrong. I was a bit unfulfilled, but that started from the very beginning. He was never highly physical, and I usually had to initiate. Many times I was turned down and cried myself to sleep. But everything else was so good that I tried not to let it bother me. In hindsight, I didn't feel truly treasured or wanted, but it was easy and comfortable, and I had a lot of trust in him. Notice the past tense. I had a lot of distractions with my hobbies and work, as well as a good-looking future that was stable and secure, which we had both worked towards. About 18 months ago, I was harmlessly looking at our cell phone bill and noticed a huge number of texts with a number I wasn't familiar with. I was extremely shocked, and after a little digging, I found out that it was another woman. My husband has a job where he works 24-hour shifts and had been working a lot of overtime for the past 2 years, so he was gone every other night. I guess we grew apart a bit and didn't realize it. The records showed texts and pictures sent late at night on the days he worked. I didn't have to question what was being sent. After doing more research before confronting him, I found out that this person was about 12 years younger and quite overweight and unattractive. She weighed over 300 pounds. I am 5 feet 9 inches and fit, work out, and maintain a healthy weight. I wear a size 8 to 10 and have a natural chest. I consider myself attractive enough. My husband is also quite into fitness, so I didn't know what to think about this. The name was vaguely familiar. A person I felt like he had mentioned long ago. Someone who worked near him, however. He had said she was really fat and never really mentioned her again. I also found the number from the cell bill hidden in his cell phone under a bogus name. I confronted my husband by calling him at work, and he first said it was just a friend he talked to at work sometimes and remembered. He had mentioned her a long while ago, but then when I said I didn't buy the just friends excuse given the crazy number of texts, talking all day and half the night, even days before I confronted him, although not every day and sometimes a few days spanned, but sometimes texting her at 12 a.m. before bed and then 6 a.m. when he woke up. There were rarely phone calls though, at least on our bill. Who knows what he was doing at work or on work email? Only a few were made early in the morning when he got off work, which was disturbing. He said he would talk when he got home. It sucked, because I had a job interview the next day, and I was so distraught to cancel it and call into work sick. When he arrived home, he said he wanted to come clean, that he had been talking to this woman for about 4 years. So half of our 8-year marriage at that time, he claimed 2 of it was fairly harmless, but then it crossed into the realm of flirting on her prompting. Apparently she stroked his ego big time. No offense, but she would never get a guy like this in the real world, you'd think. Looks-wise, they did send naked photos back and forth and had illicit conversations. He never sent photos or texts with me. I was absolutely devastated and shocked as I had no idea this was going on. I had read flirty emails between him and some other old friends or whatnot on Facebook, but it was in the open and didn't seem to be so threatening. I did not do the same, however, with any guys. Only when we first got together 16 years ago and dated long distance were there a few incidents of iffy behavior that maybe now I should have believed. The only slight sign of this had been that he more recently, about 6 to 9 months prior to my discovery, was having trouble sleeping with me. He blamed it on recent workouts, doing cardio, and I believed it, but still deep down it hurt my feelings. Now, I wonder if it was because he was sleeping with this other woman. He has now said it was due to guilt. He said it was strictly a texting relationship that she had trapped him in by threatening to tell me if he quit. And they never met up or slept together, however. It turns out she lives about 10 minutes from our house. I just don't believe, despite her size and looks, that it was purely texting over a 4-year span. I said I wanted him to take a lie detector test if he hadn't slept with her, and he said no, because he would probably fail anyway. Not the answer I was looking for. That just makes me more suspicious. It honestly doesn't matter if he did or didn't at this point. I was begging for attention and sleeping together, and to find out he was, for years, giving it to someone else feels like more than I can get past. My whole life was ripped out from under me. All of my stability and security gone. It has been the absolute worst pain of my life. I don't make even half of what he does, and I have a farm and lots of expenses that I couldn't handle on my own. So now I feel like if I leave, I will lose everything I have worked so hard to achieve due to no fault of my own. I will live in poverty again even though I have done nothing wrong. Of course, now he's Mr. Nice Guy and doing all the things I asked for years prior to this. But that only makes me angrier, knowing that he was capable of it all along and it took this situation to bring it out. I am less willing than ever to meet his needs, as my pain, fear, and bitterness have made me emotionally withdrawn. What's the point? I used to be happy, but now I am miserable. I have lost so much respect, trust, and interest in him, knowing that he could look me in the face and betray me like this. It's clear to me now that he was never truly in love or cared about me. And I was so good and so nice. It seems like most guys would love to have a wife who begs for intimacy multiple times a week, but I have completely lost all romantic feelings for him. We haven't slept together in almost 18 months, and it's become a complex issue for me. When I first met him, I had no experience and he seemed so special to me. But now it all feels tarnished and ruined, and I have zero interest in him in that way. We did try to work it out a few times right after the incident, but now I am completely repulsed by any attempt of affection from him. I don't want to open up and get hurt again, so I stay emotionally withdrawn. It's hard because I haven't told many people about our issues, in case we reconcile, so that they wouldn't have any preconceived notions about us in the future. Most of our good friends don't even know. He is being patient about our lack of intimacy, but at this point I want to have closeness and sleep together. Just not with him. He is physically attractive, but emotionally, the spark has long gone out. I feel like I should be moving forward by now, but I feel further away than ever. I have reached a point where I feel guilty for not being able to get over it, and in my heart of hearts, I feel like it's over for me. I hate that he is also living without intimacy during the prime of his life. I guess he is, who knows. And I can't help but feel like maybe he wasn't really committed to our marriage for the 4 years we were together. Maybe it's time for me to not be married anymore either. Maybe I should be single. As I have become more detached from him, I have grown closer to a few other people and have thought about dating them. Of course, he still wants to work things out. But I just can't get over the fact that he lied to my face for 4 years and betrayed me. What else is someone like that capable of? I feel like I don't even know him anymore, like he's a stranger. I have so much good in my life that I appreciate, and it's hard to want to give up the rest of my life outside of him. But I also can't seem to forgive him, and I don't really want to. And I can't have a future with him without forgiveness, so I feel trapped. Neither of us can live well without the other, and he has put a lot into our home and facility, so I still have compassion for him and don't want him to suffer. So do I stay or do we call it quits? I am torn because I know that if I could just get over it, my future would be secure if this never happened again. But what if it did? I am scared to risk that. I am tired of being in turmoil. He agreed immediately to cease all contact with the other person, and I believe he has. But there's no way for me to know if he was still contacting her from his work. We did go to marriage counseling soon after the incident, but the therapist said I was too angry and hurt to make progress, so we needed to wait a while. Needed to wait a while. Is that common? She said she couldn't help us until I could be less emotional and bitter. He seems to be truly remorseful, but I can't help but see it as risking losing what I thought we had. He is now doing many of the things I had been asking for, which only makes me angrier. That he was capable all along, and is only now trying. While I was trying the whole time, I don't know if taking a polygraph test would even matter at this point. The deceit in general and the length of time, 4 years, is something I can't get past. If someone can do this to someone they supposedly love, what else are they capable of? How can I ever trust again? I know I can't, or it will never be the same. I have such a fear of opening up and getting closer again, because I don't trust him with my emotions, or my sense of security anymore. I have mourned the sudden death of our relationship, and now I am too scared to try and rebuild, to take the risk of it happening again when I am older and less able to start over. I have absolutely no attraction or romantic feelings for him, even though he's a textbook, good-looking guy. And when I think about being intimate, I am repulsed. If he makes any type of advance, it immediately makes me incredibly anxious. I don't want to live in a non-physical marriage because intimacy is very important to me. Even though I wasn't satisfied before, I lived with it, without too much complaint because everything else was good. And sometimes I feel like he is trying in vain, which makes me feel guilty even though it's not my fault that this has happened. I am also angry and afraid of losing everything I have, even though it's not my fault. We have a large horse farm, which was my dream, and he helped me build it. I can't afford it without him. I also run a successful horse business with a good friend, but I can't afford the farm without him since he makes over twice what I make. So I feel trapped. I will lose everything I have worked for, the farm, my beloved horses, my side business, my cars, my hobbies, and basically be left with nothing, all because of something I didn't do. It's an agonizing choice, and it feels so unfair. I could stay for the material things and never have a physical relationship again, or risk going through this all over again, because I don't think the root problem has been fixed. I just don't know what to do. I am 35 and have no kids, so I am still young enough to find someone else. But I am scared to try again and have this happen at 45 when it might be too late. A little over half a year later, we have finally discussed the details of how we would separate and when, but I find it hard to actually go through with it because he says he doesn't want it. Yet we have had no connection of any sort in over 2 years. Yet, and whenever I make an effort to move forward, he lets it die out after we discuss it. Then we go another month and have to start the conversation over again and the same thing happens. I also guess that since we are friends and he is a good roommate, I find it hard to end the relationship. I have been with him since I was 19, so maybe that's the problem. But I know I don't want a physical relationship. So both of us have to move on, unless we both don't want anything more for the rest of our lives. But that's not me. I just turned 36 and have no children. He has a shift job where he works 24 hours at a time, and it has always been that way. I thought it was a good thing until I realized it gave him 24 hours to talk to the other person. He could be doing God knows what during that time now at work. It's hard to trust. So is this normal? Now that I am over the hatred and pain of what happened, which I had to let go of because it was killing me and aging me, it's easier to be complacent. But then again, I also look forward to being single and would love to be able to date other people. The thought of him dating other people does not bother me at all. However, I guess it's unrealistic to think I won't miss anything about the relationship because most of it was very good until he blindsided me and ruined it. I had never intended on getting divorced until then. I actually don't feel freaked out about the decision. I just feel sad that the person won't be much in my life. They have been a good friend. Well, I guess not too good of a friend to do what they did, but I can't stay mad forever as it was killing me. That doesn't mean I want to be married. I would love to be able to see other people. He has to want to as well, you'd think. But he was so disinterested in intimacy before. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? Maybe this is a perfect situation for him. Actually, I'm not bothering him for sleeping together anymore. I just fear that if we sign something or work something out, and I start trying to see someone else, things are gonna go to hell in a handbasket. We have talked about it, and I have even suggested an open marriage, but he claims he doesn't want to see other people. But I can't be expected to do nothing forever when he doesn't want to end it, and I am pushing, but with not much action on his part. People say he's waiting me out for me to give up and stay, but who wants a person that doesn't want to be with you? I don't mind staying friends, but then that will probably be hard for a new interest to deal with, don't you think? I guess not many boyfriends want to hear their girlfriend still talks to her ex-husband. We had discussed still sharing vehicles and stuff like that. Just, I think, will I ever find someone that will tolerate us still being somewhat involved as friends? That's kind of what we have always been, in hindsight. We never really were truly intimately connected, which is why I think he was able to cheat for 4 years and was missing something. I just never did anything about it like he did. 2 months later in the morning, he texts early, something short like, "Man, I'm tired." I didn't respond, which is unlike me, because I am annoyed and a bit upset that he stayed out all night. He called a few times and I did not answer. So nothing else was said about it really, except I questioned him about where he was and who he was with. I guess because I didn't believe him deep down. I have known him for 17 years, and it just didn't make sense totally, and was out of character. I never questioned, so I guess he knew I didn't believe. I continued to be short, and we didn't talk on the phone Friday or Saturday. Actually, we haven't talked since. On Sunday, I am sitting on the couch, and he's been at work for 3 days straight, so I haven't even seen him yet. Common, and yes, I checked his phone and he was there. I picked up his iPad and opened his Facebook just to check things, which I used to never do, but not snooping at all proved to be a bad thing for me in the end. I saw he had a recent message with a girl named Alana, who I knew about as a friend he had had a few years ago. She works near him and is about 13 years younger than him. And if I do say so, not as attractive as I am. Couldn't help it, lol. The message contained nothing out of the ordinary as far as flirty talk, but it did seem like they talked often. Often, the way it came across, I suddenly got an idea. I wondered where this girl lived. I put her name into White Pages, and her address popped up, the same address he was at that night. I was instantly enraged and confronted him immediately. Safe to say, I told him I wanted to sign papers right away and that I was 100% done. How dare he do this to me when I was waiting for him to move forward and he wouldn't? He claimed he just stopped by to talk, and that it felt good to get attention. Time went by so quickly that he didn't realize it was so late. They didn't hug or kiss and just went to bed, which means they slept in her bed together. Firstly called. We haven't had relations in a long time, so he would be sufficiently starved for it like I am. So chances of him saying no would be slim. And this girl is single and likewise apparently hasn't had a boyfriend in quite some time. He said he knew I wouldn't believe it. But how do you talk for hours and then just walk to the same bed and go to sleep? It doesn't make too much sense. What he should have done was at least leave at 10:30 and come home, then tell me we needed to go ahead with the papers. He also was very callous when I confronted him, saying I should have seen this coming and that I was done with him anyway. It would have been nice to sleep with her, why lie? Classy. The attitude was really just crappy considering what he had already done and put me through. He would also tell me he was still my friend. That's funny because none of my friends try to destroy me multiple times with selfish behavior. So, at least this has made my decisions infinitely easier. Because now I know that whenever he's given a chance to choose his needs over hurting me, he will choose himself. This is incident number 2, at least that I know of. I am happy to have made a decision. I am ready to start living again. My comment, how do you guys like these 2 short endings? Tell me what kind of stories you want to hear. Subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.